Good evening and welcome to Let's Talk Access, a social media program produced and presented by the UWA Open Campus. I'm your host, Cherise Glasgow. Thank you for joining us today from wherever you are this afternoon. Today, we talk about mental health first responders and specifically the mental health first responders course offered by the UWA Open Campus. Today, I am joined by two special guests. There are Mrs. Antoinette Parma Emmanuel, who is Acting Program Officer at the Social Work Training and Research Center, SWTRC, and Ms. Cheyenne Lang, a past student of the Mental Health First Responders course. Welcome to Let's Talk Access, ladies. It's a pleasure to have you here this afternoon. How are you doing today?
Thank you so much for having us. So far, it has been a wonderful day, and we're looking forward to great conversations.
Certainly. Cheyenne?
It's been a really great day, and I'm actually looking forward to everything that we have to discuss about how the program is and how vital it is. So,
Yes.
right.
Yes, we definitely have a packed schedule and discussion this afternoon. But first, I just want to send out apologies. We wouldn't have Mrs. Sarita Buchanan, who is the head of center here with us today as advertised, but we wish her all the best. So let's jump right into the conversation. I will start first with Antoinette, who, as I said before, is the acting program officer. If you can give us a brief synopsis of what the center is about.
Okay, so the Social Work Training and Research Center is one of 4 subunits of the Consortium for Social and Development Research. And we are the main research arm of the Open Campus. But what we do participatory action research where we involve the study in it. So it gives us a better understanding of the situation and scenarios at hand, so that when we create policies and programs around that, it feeds a specific need. And I would like to say that the SWTRC, that's our acronym, is one of the oldest units within the Open Campus. We've been around since 1962. For those who are on the platform and are Jamaican, you'll know that means that we're 60 years because it's ties in with Jamaica's independence. And we're so proud of the achievements that we have made over these 60 years.
Thank you. And just for anyone who wasn't clear, the center is based in Jamaica.
Jamaica, right.
So yes. Antoinette, just tell us exactly what the mental health first responder response is. What, not the course as yet, but what is mental health first response?
If a casualty, like somebody meeting an accident, the first person who provides aid would be considered the first responder, whether they are trained, yes or no. And with the proliferation of mental illness, ill health, there is a need to be gapped, and which every person has to participate in it. And that is why we have created this program to ensure that all persons or any person can see themselves as a mental health first responder. Yeah, if we were to think about some of the current trends in mental health, we, especially with the pandemic, we have seen an increase in isolation, an increase in depression. At first, everybody thought that we were okay and this is just a moment to be at home and so forth. But when the reality hits, that we recognize that this pandemic is just greater than a mask and washing of hands. It is a separation, and how we respond mentally is traumatic. Some persons have considered suicide. Some persons have gone into clinical depression where they need help and have sought therapy. And for our Caribbean region, and especially Black people, we don't necessarily like to seek therapy. And therefore, by engaging community workers, social service agencies, and anybody who has an interest in this area, counselors, church members, then we can then provide the support despite whatever situation is happening.
So this is a much needed course and a much needed course of action, especially within, as you said, the Caribbean.
Yes. And when I spoke mainly in terms of individuals, but even our health workers have been stressed by this, and therefore their first responders will be their co-workers who will, while they're going through this stressful period of providing help and seeing persons die, and while the care, we still keep it's a new vaccine, a new boost, and so forth. So the treatment is not consistent. You constantly have to change, and you're going to need someone there for you. So we would encourage, both in terms of hospitals and health workers, as well as corporate, that you consider this course as something that your entire staff should participate in, because no one is an island and we need each other.
So Cheyenne, you would have taken the training. Can you give us some insight into why you pursued this study?
Well, particularly for myself, I realized that I come in contact with a lot of clients who possess some form of mental disorder, right? And we realize that being knowledgeable on the different types of mental illnesses that they are out there, I'm better able to assist my clients. And I did my practicum at Bellevue Hospital. Being there, I realized they always have this notion that people are mad. And I always say, no one is mad. There are a lot of functioning mentally ill persons. I realized that I interacted with so many professional persons that were struggling with their mental health. So I decided that this is something where I would be able to be an advocate, and I'd be able to represent them in a space many times within the Jamaican society that isn't necessarily safe, because persons don't understand mental health, and sometimes the person themselves don't understand mental health. They don't even realize what's going on within their own head. They're confused. So that's where my passion stemmed from in being interested in doing this course.
Yeah, it's funny you should say that, because persons assume that when you hear mental health is automatically, as you said, the person is mad. But to me, everyone has an aspect of mental health, whether it's an issue or not, just like we have spiritual, physical, emotional as well. Yeah. So I want to ask you, what was your experience like in the training?
What I would say, it is very informative, extremely interactive. We were given a lot of scenarios that we had to basically figure out what it is that was wrong with the client. We had to do our different presentations and present on the different types of mental illnesses. So we were given a case, and then we would have to be the ones to figure out the different criteria that the particular client may fit, whether they be positive criteria, negative criteria. So what do they have, what they don't have? And then we would have to come with a diagnosis and also come up with recommendations for the client. So at the end of the course, I knew a lot about mental illness before, but at the end of it, I was better able to, well, we're not professionally trained, but in my terms, diagnose or pick up on small details. And it even benefited me in my workplace, even in the last 3 weeks. So the course is something that I would encourage anyone to do. You're able to even pick up on things that are happening with yourself, your own family members. You're better able to understand certain things that you used to be wondering, why did they do this? It did not appear as a mental illness before, or something that they're struggling with, something they were struggling with before, but as a result of the course, we were able to pinpoint different things that we probably did not realize before, and appreciate mental illness in general and relate it to our everyday lives.
Okay. So just to ask, you would have been participating in areas where you dealt with mental health before?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Just a reminder to our audience, you're free to share your comments and questions online for our panelists. And just to remind you that applications are now open for all programs for the academic year starting September 2022. You have until July 2022 to apply for our undergraduate programs, and June 30th, which is the end of this month, to apply for our postgrad programs. There will be no MPhil, PhD, or EdD programs offered for the first semester in the upcoming academic year. You can log on to www.apply.open.uwi.edu for more information. Also, a reminder, we have upcoming our virtual open house series running from June 6th to 23rd. We will be speaking on our graduate and undergraduate, as well as our continuing education programs. There will be 2 to 3 two-hour sessions per week, showcasing programs including education, management, sociology and social work, economics, finance, sports, as well as our CPE programs. Interested person can register at www.open.uwi.edu/VOH. Right, so back to our conversation on mental health. Antoinette, as the acting program officer, we want you to tell us a bit more about what the course entails in terms of the structure, anything regarding entry requirements, payment, when persons can register, anything like that.
Okay, thanks. All right, so I think Cheyenne touched a very important point in terms of the hands-on approach in our learning. So you get to feel the material, you get to utilize the tools and the technique at a beyond the theoretical. So, you know, we use case studies, we use presentation simulations as much as possible within the program. And some of the topics that we look at is first to define mental health, you know, and realize that it is on a continuum. It's not just mad people, as Jamaica would say, and we allow you to be able to identify the signs and the symptoms of mental ill health, as well as good mental health. Because sometimes we look fine, we're dressed, we're functioning, but is it really good mental health, or is it mental ill health? And therefore you're able to identify the signs and the symptoms. Then we'll go into what is called psychosocial injury. A little theoretical, but when our lecturers or facilitators take you through this, it takes it from a high level into something that you can utilize on a daily basis. And when we look at mental health, we don't think only about the individual, the person with the disorder. We have to think about the family, because mental health impacts directly and indirectly. We look at how the community can feed into the mental disorder or to support the person into good mental health. And then we also look at caring for the caregivers, especially for those who are on the extreme end of the continuum and you're the one taking care. You yourself go through some mental distress. And so we show you what are the things that you can do to assist the caregivers, what the caregivers can do themselves to treat themselves, to take care of themselves, so that they're better able to take care of the person with the disorder. If you go on a plane, one of the first instructions they tell you is that to put the mask on yourself first, not on anybody else. And this is what this course is about, to ensure that the person takes care of themselves and the caregivers take care of themselves first so that they can provide the support. And one of the last thing that we look at what are the existing structures, resources that are available, so you can then go for help and more information to assist yourself and the persons that you're taking care of. Yes. So that's in a nutshell.
What we're getting is that this, it's help others, but also how you can help yourself. Because as you said, as the person is giving help, they can also become depleted as well.
Yeah, I like that word. Yeah. Right.
So tell us what the application period is and also the duration of the course.
All right. So usually we offer it in our semester 1 and semester 2. However, it is offered throughout the year because we will customize our course. It's typically a 30-hour contact hour course, which would take you 3 hours, 1 day each week, so over a 10-week period. But depending on what your focus area is, we can customize it to a 5-day workshop. Whatever it is, we will work around the scenarios that you want. Some persons have already been introduced to it and they want more focus on a particular topic, then we will customize the course. So you can either join for our semester courses. So for September would be our next offering. So you have more than enough time. You can visit our website, open.ue.edu/SWTRC to get information on the application process. And it's simple. You fill out a Google form. We will then contact you and provide you with the payment details. But for our 30-hour contact hour mental health first responders course, it is $45,000. Customization will vary what the price will, and that is in Jamaican dollars. So that's typically 45 would carry around $170 US. And we have different payment options. You can either pay online, banking transfer, or for those in Jamaica, you have Paymaster. You know, we're trying to make it as accessible to you. And for our regional students, we will make arrangements with financial institutions within your neck of the woods to ensure that we can get that little paperwork out of the way so that you can focus on your studies and getting the information to help others.
And I know you said that the course is over a 10-week period, but yes, you also said that it can be customized into a 5-day workshop. So tell us, say for example, someone in HR or CEO wanted certain members of their organization to have this training. Would that be something that can be facilitated?
Absolutely. As we said, first responders is not just for social workers and service agents. It is for everyone. Mental health is on the news every day. Mental health, illness is among us, and we need to be able to identify it. So corporate Jamaica, NGOs, community organizations, churches, if you wish to engage your members at that level, you call us 876-927-2478, or you can email us at swtrc@open.uwi.edu. We'll share that information within the chat as well. And so we'll have that conversation of how do you want to join our regular semester offerings, or would you like us to customize it? Whether you want us to do it online, you want us to do it face-to-face, we can have it hybrid of a few 1 day online, 1 day face-to-face. As you said, customization, we tailor our training to your needs and to your specifications.
Great. What about, I know your focus, y'all are based in Jamaica, and that may be your main market. What about our other Caribbean brothers and sisters? After all, we are the top online
Exactly.
university
I
in
know
the
I
region.
mentioned Jamaica, but yes, we have had participants from all across the region. We've had police officers from Barbados. We've had nurses from Grenada. So it is open to everyone. And even at the, beyond this mental health first responders course, because Open Campus is online, we can reach you where you are. You understand? And we can look at different platforms. Zoom is our main platform. But as we said, if you are comfortable with another platform, we can then transfer our training to that platform. Because, this is what it is. And I just want to plug one of our new courses, our digital social work, where we're ensuring that we are on the ball and ready to use any technology that is useful to the persons, the vulnerable within our community. Yeah.
That is great news for those across the Caribbean who may have been a bit discouraged when we spoke solely about Jamaica. But
My
as you heard Antoinette
apologies.
said,
We are
it can
open
be
to
offered
everyone
anywhere you have access to the internet.
as long as you have the
So
internet.
tell us just a bit more on how the course is assessed.
Okay, so for the most part, we use group work. No Man is an Island again. So it's a part of the process of getting you, seeing yourself as a caregiver, working with a client, working with different personalities. And so for group work is what we use. You're provided with case studies in which to assess and to come up with treatment for particular disorders, as well as you have a presentation, because we need to have a conversation, right? And to equip you with the communication skills that is needed to feed this information to clients as well as to service providers. So case studies, presentation, and group work.
So Cheyenne, based on that, we know how it is when persons speak about group work. Tell us about your most memorable experience within the duration of the course. Cheyenne, you're muted.
All right, my apologies. For me, my most memorable experience would have been, I would say it would have been two. One, when we would have for our group presentations, we would have our group Zoom meetings, our private own group Zoom meeting, and whichever case study we were given, we would basically look at the criteria for each mental disorder, and we would all give our own opinions on which mental disorder it was. And in the groups, we had persons from different Caribbean islands, and it made it that much more interesting the way, for example, somebody from Grenada viewed mental illness versus somebody from Jamaica, the way we view the way people should behave and what was considered normal for us in Jamaica versus someone from Grenada. For me, it was very open and everybody was respectable and everybody supported each other. So the group meetings that we had preparing for the presentations was something that I truly enjoyed. And then during class, it was interesting when, again, for me, I love case study. We would, for example, we would have focused on anxiety disorders and that type of thing. And then based off of the criteria for the anxiety, we would then be given a case and we'd be asked, does this fit? And then we'd hear the different discussions, and it was so amazing to see how different someone else's opinion was from your opinion, something that you probably didn't even think of someone else in the class thought of because of their experience maybe in their profession or their workplace or experiences at home. So for me, even though the classes were long, they were productive and they were entertaining. You can't say, okay, I fell asleep. It was very interactive and it kept us on our toes.
And that is a very good element to have, especially as socialization will definitely affect how, as you said, persons respond to different mental health issues. Yeah.
Definitely.
So Antoinette, I know you would have touched on it briefly before the current pandemic and how mental health how it affected mental health during that time. Can you give us any more insight into that aspect in terms of how the trends have changed or might be changing?
I don't have statistics at hand to share with you, but in terms of as I began, I said that SWTRC is one of 4 subunits of the Consortium for Social Development and Research. And based on what we have seen, one of our sister units, Caribbean Child Development Center, they have noticed that in terms of how persons wish to receive treatment, as well as because of the social distances, we had to go to digital media in which to interact. And so we have created what is called U-Chat line. And it was overwhelmingly patronized, especially by young people, right? And so we see that mental health is not just an adult thing. The age range for which persons are dealing with things as depression, to the end of the spectrum, which like schizophrenia and so forth, that these are serious issues that have to be dealt with. And it was so useful in terms of the use of the technology in which to engage with them, because it provided them a safe space where they didn't necessarily have to show their faces. So the trend in which how we treat mental health, provide service for that, is also changing. And that is why we created a digital social work course that will be offered July 27th soon. Yeah. I want to make a correction. When I spoke about the course, I got so excited that I said that mental health first responders is 45,000 Jamaican dollars and 170. It's actually 300 US. Or digital social work would be the one for 170 US. Right. So our courses can range between 100 to 300. And those are for our continuing professional education. You heard Sherry's talking about the CPEs. So that is our price range. But as we said, customized training, the negotiations can differ. And based on what your focus area is, then that can also factor into the cost of which we offer training to you.
And still great pricing for the wealth of information that you and Cheyenne have mentioned before. Yes. So I want to ask you, I did a bit of research and I read online that some careers for mental health first responder can vary from crisis responders and include also peer support specialists. What are some of the careers that students completing this course usually expect to get into?
Well, the field of social work is very wide, and mental health first responders course is something that is used in everything. So whether you're doing palliative hospice care, whether you're doing pediatric, child welfare, whether you're doing criminal justice, that's forensic social work, the mental health first responders course is part of the information and the skill set that you need in which to respond to your clients. And there are some social workers who work at the community level and the advocacy level, and therefore this course will provide them with the information that is needed to have the right conversations to really show the impact of mental ill health on individuals, on the community, on the workforce, and the nation at large.
What are some other courses and programs that graduates of this course would have gone on to do, if any?
Okay, well, we offer a range of courses. You can do the introductory social work course, that's for 10 weeks. We have impact, assessment and evaluation, where you're looking at it from a policy planning and monitoring perspective. That should begin Monday, June 6th. And we'll have that running for 6 weeks from June 6th to June 30. It's more 5 weeks. And then we also have community leadership and development program. And that is a 3-level program with 30 contact hours per level. Your entry requirements will vary per level, but we wish to open it to anyone with a social welfare background, a mental health, advocacy, interest. We also recently had our violence and abuse management and prevention program. And with the rise of the pandemic, there was a rise in violence against women and children. And we need to be better able of how to deal with it. And I find that we have been trained into a mode of silence, which supports and strengthens the assaulters. And therefore, by having more persons engage in a course like that, it is hoped that we will have an increase in voice, an increase in the volume by which we cry out against these distress against the vulnerable individuals within our community. For July, we're having our grant writing workshop. We like to have hands-on, so we do a lot of workshops, and that will be a 2-day, July 5 and 6, 12 hours, 6 hours each day. Now, for you to have programs, you need funding, and grant writing is one of the way which you can do that at a community level, at an individual level, and therefore, and even at a corporate, because when you work in partnership with someone else, and you are able to present with them a document that shows exactly how you're going to go through the process of implementing your ideas and making your courses, your program sustainable, then you will get the support, because grant funders don't want to see you alone. They want to see a partner. And therefore, by taking this course, you put yourself in a better position to put the proposition to a partner, a corporate, to say, yes, they are providing some funding too, and we need your help to get the resources that is needed to get these needed programs out.
So Center definitely have a full fleet of program that gives a synergistic approach, because you went through the steps of how students, even when completing one program, can go on to complete another and form this holistic approach to their career, which is a great approach, yeah.
Yeah, lifelong learning is a must, It upskill yourself, it keeps you up with the trends, it provides you with the new information, as well as information that you did not know before and how to utilize it properly in the field. Yeah.
So let's go now to Cheyenne and ask her, what is the demand like among your peers and your colleagues in terms of becoming certified or having these training and these programs on their CV?
Well, I realize that persons are becoming more aware of mental illness, and in the field that I'm currently in, I work with Ministry of Labor Social Security. That's the PATH office. One of my colleagues also, when I put the course out there to her, I mentioned the course, she was so interested and she jumped right in. And I did mention it to other colleagues, other social workers, and they were very interested because as social workers, we interact with so many different personalities when we visit clients and meet the families of the clients and so on. And even though we got an introduction to psychology through abnormal psychology, it's a different approach to learning about mental illness in this course versus when we were in university where it was just a lecture. This is more interactive and we got to actually do a lot of scenarios, So I realized that a lot of our social workers are getting more interested in the course because we even had persons from CPFSA, that would have been our child advocacy, basically agency in Jamaica. So we had a lot of persons from there. When I mentioned it to them, they were interested in it because it actually adds to their CV, because now I can put that there and it says, she has an interest in the well-being of persons, and she now knows how to handle a situation and able to assist others in taking care of persons with mental illnesses. So it actually, I felt really, I smiled while adding it to my resume because I felt proud to know that I had something that added value to me and in turn value to society on a whole.
Okay. So with that being said, can you give us what's your next move regarding applying this knowledge and also in terms of your career development based on what you would have learned from the course?
Well, for me, this is a stepping stone because for me, I would love to do my master's in counseling psychology. So this is definitely a step in the direction. That would have been a confirmation for me in terms of what I should be doing with my life. It gave me a sense of direction. It definitely did. It actually refreshed a lot of it because I was like, I did this in university, but when I did the course, I realized it actually refreshed my knowledge on what it is that I already knew. So it's a step in the right direction, especially if mental health is something that is really important to you. So I believe it added value to who I was as a person, definitely.
Great. So definitely those who are in our audience watching on our social media platforms, you would have heard Cheyenne said that the course kind of altered her career in terms of giving her direction to what her next steps should be. So we advise you to definitely register and apply for this course to get that same effect. So I'm going to just a little late moment in the program. I'm going to say some statements that I would have researched online, and you can let me know if it's true or false, what your first thought is when these statements come to mind. So self-care is essential to combating burnout.
Absolutely.
Mental health is just as important as physical health and deserves the same quality of support.
True. Most definitely.
You are not your illness. You have an individual story to tell. You have a name, a history, a personality. Staying yourself is part of the battle. Things not to say to someone with mental illness. Ignore it, forget about it, fight it. You are better than this. You are overthinking. I know that's something that a lot of people who don't understand normally say to other person.
Yes.
And it
And what,
defeats
Antoinette, pardon?
and it it depletes, it deflates the individual further into depression, because then they're not given an opportunity to voice. And sometimes they just need someone to listen, without a criticism, without some snarky remark. We need to take more time to listen so that we can have a better understanding, and so that the person feel heard, yeah.
Well said. And lastly, as Antoinette would have alluded, many first responders shy away from sharing their innermost feelings. So in a sense, they themselves may feel that they don't have an outlet, correct?
Yes, and but it defeats the purpose of responding. When we had our violence and abuse prevention and management course offering in February of this year, I found there were several situations in which we had to use breakout rooms so that the persons who were being trained to assist realized that they needed counseling, they needed to speak about an issue that they've been holding on. And we're so happy that our facilitators are so competent and their expertise in their field, that at that point we had two facilitators in the class, but there were times when the second facilitator had to enter a breakout room with an individual to speak with them. And when we did the feedback, the evaluation, some of these individuals that said that now that they have opened up themselves to the trauma they have gone through, and they have now been provided with tools, they can help themselves and they can better help individuals who are being abused.
And Antoinette, just what advice would you give to potential students who may be still indecisive about who may still be indecisive about pursuing a career in mental health?
The need is far too great than to not pursue. I'm going to speak from a religious point of view. That in Genesis, God says that we are the caretakers of this world, including the people, and we need to be our brother's keeper. So in just taking this course, you are providing yourself with the tools that is needed to help someone. There are so many persons in need of help that will not speak up because of how we have been raised, because of our thinking. And with you opening up yourself to any of these training opportunities, you are putting yourself to be able to pick up on the mental ill health signs and symptoms, and be able to properly provide support or to direct someone to where they can get help. Let us not be in a situation where we allow ourselves to be silenced, the victims and the vulnerable to be silenced, and we do not provide them with a voice. And that is what social work is about, ensuring the well-being of all people. And by doing these courses, whether you're doing it for your career or just for yourself, you're fulfilling the mandate of being the caretaker of this world that God has given you. Because while we don't offer it now, there is also green social work. That is a different conversation. But we're saying there's so many things that we need to do. Social work courses goes across the board. One of the careers that I failed to mention was occupational and employee health. And we say we have wellness centers within our workplace, but we need to provide these individuals with the right tools. So corporate, please call us, please email us, let us have the conversation so we can help. The need is greater than the hands that are there within the field of social work, beyond those who are trained. And so everybody has to put a hands on deck.
Very well said. So Cheyenne, as a former student, what would you tell a potential student why they should apply to the UWA Open Campus and pursue this course? What advice?
I would say not to second guess yourself, because out of this program can only come positivity. Out of it can only come growth and development, because you'll see a better version of yourself. You'll find out things about yourself that you didn't know. It can be very self-healing, because we had several persons in the course who were able to accept certain things about themselves and realize that, hey, this is who I am, and what can I do to make myself, to improve my experience with what I am I'm struggling with. So there's only good that can come from this course, and it will definitely look good on your resume. It's just a stepping stone to greatness. That's the way I look at doing the courses. Not just this particular course, but other courses, because where I work, you have some lower level administration officers, and they are currently doing some of the courses at the open campus. I know a few doing the introduction to social work course, and I believe it is out of seeing how they can improve others in society, and we encourage them to do it with the open campus as well. I said, hey, it's a stepping stone to getting enrolled into the degree program. So it's something that I would encourage anyone at all to apply for, because if you think about it, as was mentioned before by Antoinette, everyone encounters mental illness at some point in their life, regardless of whether you are a professional, a social worker or not. Everyone knows someone who is struggling with something. Doing this course, you are able to help a friend, a family member. So I would encourage anybody at all to apply for this course.
Very well said. So as Cheyenne said, this course helps with your overall well-being, socially, health-wise, and also your professional trajectory. So let me just take this time to plug and remind everyone of our upcoming virtual open house series. On June 6th, we begin this virtual open house series, and we'll be showcasing our educational leadership and management program, as well as early childhood development and family studies. Prospective students and all other interesting parties can register at www.open.uwi.edu/VOH. So we've had a very knowledgeable session, but before we sign off, I would like to ask Cheyenne and Antoinette to give us their final words. Let's start with Cheyenne.
Mental illness is not, it's not a virus, it's not a poison, it's a part of everyday life. It's something that can be managed, it's something that requires support from all angles of life. So just remember that your mental health is just as important as your physical health. It's just as important as your spiritual health, and it's just as important as qualifying yourself in other areas. So if there is anything that you see in yourself that appears that something is wrong, just remember to reach out. If you feel like what you are experiencing, you can use your own experience to motivate and inspire someone else. Do this course, even if it's for your own well-being. Do the course. I would encourage even pastors, this is a good course for even pastors to do, seeing as though they have such a strong, our spiritual lives, and even in the Caribbean is something so strong. I would encourage anybody that has anything to do with of influence in person's life, please enroll. I have not regretted it. And if I could enroll again, I would.
Antoinette,
Thank you
your
so
final
much.
thought, as
It's
well
so
as
well said.
also, before you go, as well as also let us know about the application requirements again.
Okay. All right. So, thanks, Cheyenne, for that. It's well said. Um, and I just want to say, she wants to do it again, but we have other courses that align with it. So you want to do mental health, then you want to do counseling techniques, then you want to do alternative therapies and techniques. You want to do case management for those from the professional side of life. So we have a variety of programs that look at, both the administrative side of social work as well as the treatment side of social work. And that we are also open beyond social workers, social service agents, and allied professionals, but to the community, as she said, the churches, the community associations. Have us a conversation. Our application process is simple. We will provide you with a link to our Google form. You'll provide your basic information for our continuing professional education courses. There is no impediment. You don't necessarily need to have a degree or so forth, because we want to ensure that the information and the tools that are needed to treat individuals that we consider vulnerable in the society is accessible to all individuals and groups, because while we have a professional body of social workers, the need is greater than what these service agencies can provide. So call us 927-876, we're in Jamaica, 876-927-2478. Email us at swtrc@open.ue.edu, as well as IG and Facebook, and we will meet with you and have a conversation about getting into the program. The cost is minimal. We start from $10,000 up to $45,000, depending on the length of the course, as well as the technicality of the course as well. And we customize for what it is that you are looking for as an individual, as an organization. Right. So we want to thank you again for listening to us. I look forward to you coming to the Social Work Training and Research Center for your upskilling and your lifelong learning that will benefit somebody's well-being.
Yes, and just checking the social media platform. We have excellent job, SWTRC team.
Thank you.
And just Maria, if Antoinette can finish off with this, or Cheyenne as well, she's asking, as we mentioned earlier, not to discourage anyone or invalidate them, but what should we tell certain people with mental illness so that they will open up to you?
Validate their concern, right? You listen. It is important that you listen. Don't be quick to judge, but to take the time to listen. Sometimes we also want to jump to provide solutions. We need to know who to refer these individuals to. And that is what Specialist Mental Health tells you exactly where the resources. And we said, we're not just Jamaica, it is regional. This course is for everyone. We made sure to interact across the Caribbean. The course was designed with partners across the Caribbean to ensure that we meet that need. But so first, as an individual basis, you come across somebody that is showing signs and symptoms, you need to listen. Be empathetic. Be empathetic. Yeah, go Cheyenne.
All right. One that is really big for me is calming your own fears. Calming your own fears so that you can actually help the person. Anthony covered a lot of it. Accepting the reality of the person's pain, but without taking it personally. Showing empathy, as you said, is so important, because if you show sympathy, you're going to go from an emotional standpoint. And many times you don't need to go from an emotional standpoint. You need to think about it logically, so that the person doesn't feel like you are pitying them, but instead you are supporting them and assuring them that, hey, we're going to work on this. All right, so just be confident, and it will exude confidence in the person. Your energy will transfer to them.
Great advice, ladies. And we want to thank you as well as our audience on our social media platforms for joining us and making the program a success. So thank you, Mrs. Antoinette Parma Emmanuel, who is the Acting Program Officer at XWTRC, and Ms. Cheyenne Lang, who is the past participant of the 10-week Mental Health First Responders course. We also want to thank our technical assistants and those who also were handling our social media platforms, Mr. Patrick Johnson, Mr. Richard Barth, and Miss Marcia Reed. Until next time, I'm your host, Cherise Glasgow. Bye.